Hi, Larry. This is Jerry. I'm calling from Chicago. I really enjoy your show. Keep up the good work. My question is this. If Sinema and Manchin hold firm and they don't vote for the filibuster rules change, could the idiot-in-chief change the rules of the filibuster by a simple executive order? And if he does, what could the Republicans do to try to put a stop to it? Probably nothing. So keep up the good work. I really enjoy your show.
If, as you put it, the idiot-in-chief could change the filibuster via executive order, he would have done so by now. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Coming up, we're going to talk to the pioneer behind one of the California school choice initiatives. Also, Chuck Schumer spreading lies about the Georgia election law, where there are more early voting days than in New York, Chuck Schumer's home state. We're going to also talk about Colin Flaherty. R.I.P. died yesterday, 69 years old, suffered from cancer. He wrote a book called White Girl, They Bleed a Lot. And, of course, got hammered by the media for daring to talk about the hate crimes committed against Asian Americans and others by blacks. The NCAA has released its COVID guidance for winter sports, and they are going to consider people who have contracted the coronavirus and recovered as fully vaccinated. All of that and more, 888-971-SAG. Now, you mentioned Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona. Here's what she recently said.
Eliminating the 60-vote threshold on a party line with the thinnest of possible majorities to pass these bills that I support will not guarantee that we prevent demagogues from winning office.
So she's not down with getting rid of the filibuster. And here's what Joe Manchin said the day before yesterday.
Filibuster is what we have, our rules. We need some good rule changes to make the place work better, but getting rid of the filibuster doesn't make it work better.
Do you get any pressure from your constituents back home on that issue?
Well, no, I mean, what they know about the filibuster is basically what Bob Byrd has educated people on over the years. And the filibuster is what makes the Senate hopefully work when it's supposed to work. We need some good rules changes, and we can do that together. But you change your rules with 2/3 of the people that are present. So it's Democrats and Republicans changing the rules to make the place work better. Getting rid of the filibuster does not make it work better.
Now here is Senator Tom Cotton from the floor of the Senate yesterday giving a speech to preserve the filibuster. And note this, every single word he says he got from Chuck Schumer. He's citing Chuck Schumer.
Madam President.
The senator from Arkansas.
Right now, we are on the precipice of a constitutional crisis. We're about to step into the abyss. I want to talk for a few minutes why we're on that precipice and why we're looking into that abyss. Let me first ask a fundamental question. What is the crisis that calls for the undoing of 2 centuries of tradition? Are senators merely doing their jobs as legislators, responding to a generalized public calling for the abolition of the filibuster? Clearly not. It is not the American people at large who are demanding detonation of the nuclear option. The nuclear option is being pushed largely by the radioactive rhetoric of a small band of radicals who hold in their hands the political fortunes of the president. Constitutional scholars will tell us that the reason we have these rules in the Senate, unlimited debate, 2/3 to change the rules, the idea that 60 have to close off debate, is embodied in the spirit and rule of the Constitution. That is what the Constitution is all about, and we all know it. It is the Senate where the Founding Fathers established a repository of checks and balances. It's not like the House of Representatives, where the majority leader or the speaker can snap his fingers and get what he wants. On important issues the Founding Fathers wanted, and they were correct in my judgment, that the slimmest majority should not always govern. The Senate is not a majoritarian body. The bottom line is very simple. The ideologues in the Senate want to turn the Founding Fathers, what the Founding Fathers called the cooling saucer of democracy, into a rubber stamp of dictatorship. They want to make this country into a banana republic, where if you don't get your way, you change the rules. Are we going to let them? It will be a doomsday for democracy if we do. I, for one, hope and pray that it will not come to this. But I assure my colleagues, at least speaking for this senator, I will do everything I can to prevent the nuclear option from being invoked, not for the sake of myself or my party, but for the sake of this great republic and its traditions. Those are powerful words, but they're not mine. Every word of my speech today was originally spoken by our esteemed colleague, the senior senator from New York, Chuck Schumer. Senator Schumer spoke so eloquently in defense of the Senate's rules, customs, and traditions when the fortunes of his party looked a little different. My, how times have changed. Now it's Senator Schumer's fingers that are hovering over the nuclear button, ready to destroy the Senate for partisan advantage. Think about it. The narrowest majority in Senate history wants to break the Senate rules to control how voters in every state elect senators. Could there be a better argument to preserve the Senate's rules, customs, and traditions? So before it's too late, let us reflect on the wise and eloquent words of Senator Schumer. Words that are as true today as they were when he spoke them, even if Senator Schumer is singing a different tune today. Madam President, I yield the floor.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Now, 3-week quick start is just $19.95. That is less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, we're talking about less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day for you to stay out of pain. Over 70% of those who order the 3-week quick start go on to order more, you know. And the doctors who designed Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, each of which are 100% drug-free, to deal with pain from a different metabolic pathway. That's right, approaching inflammation from 4 different angles. So if you've got back, shoulder, neck, hip, foot, knee pain from exercise or just getting older, consider ordering the 3-week quick start. Only $19.95. Just go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or call 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. China has built the largest DNA database in the world, and it's only growing. This should concern all of us. That's because China could use this information in the future, perhaps, for example, to build bioweapons targeting specific ethnic groups. Given this background, common sense dictates that Americans shouldn't be storing their DNA or other personal information with Chinese-linked firms. Quite sensibly, after getting an FBI briefing about the firm's connections to China, the Los Angeles County Sheriff notified the county that his office wouldn't work with Fulgent. That's the genetics firm LA County hired for mandatory COVID testing and registration. Fulgent even admits in a public disclaimer it stores information outside the United States, where data privacy protections may not be as secure. I'll bet. What's alarming is how many others have chosen to work with Fulgent. The question is why.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
America, if anybody wants it. But the answer is, yeah, I wish I had thought about ordering 500 million pills 2 months ago before COVID hit here.
But we're nearly 2 years into this pandemic. You're a year into the presidency. Empty shelves and no test kits in some places, 3 days before Christmas when it's so important. Is that good enough?
No, nothing's been good enough. But look where we are. When last Christmas we were in a situation where we had significantly fewer people vaccinated. Emergency rooms were filled.
Well, Mr. President, yes, I would have to agree with you on that. For once, there's something you and I agree on. Nothing has been good enough.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Hey, what's up, Larry? Andrew, Stanhope, New Jersey. It's funny to hear Joe Biden talk about Jim Crow 2.0 when wasn't his nickname Jim Crow Joe? And didn't he say he didn't want his kids going to a racial jungle, which is a racist slander against blacks? And he lied in the debate with Kamala Harris. He said he just didn't want state enforcement of busing. No, he didn't want his kids to go to school with black kids. So that's quite ironic that the media doesn't cover that. Jim Crow Joe. Before there was Sleepy Joe, he was known as Jim Crow Joe.
This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle. I mean, this is gigantic, what they're trying to do. And it cannot be sustained. He's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
So I ask every elected official in America, how do you want to be remembered? At consequential moments in history, they present a choice. Do you want to be on the side of Dr. King or George Wallace?
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. We're going to have a remembrance of my friend Colin Flaherty, who just died age 69. Who is Colin Flaherty? Stick around for that. Also, next hour, we're going to be talking about an initiative in California, one of two, that supports school choice. Speaking of which, Todd in Hemet, California. Todd, you're on the Larry Elder Show. Thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it.
Mr. Elder, I'm both humbled and honored to talk to you. Hey, I'm a conservative public school teacher. I taught in a private school, and I'm looking at this, and I really don't think that school choice within public schools is a great choice. I have an alternative. I'm thinking that in communities, if we have 30 churches kick in $1,000 each and one church hosts it, we can provide a livable wage for up to 7 teachers and an administrator without any government interference. And if we really want to send a message to Sacramento, then students need to be pulled out of public schools because that scares them more than anything.
Well, Todd, your idea is a wonderful idea. In fact, that's how education used to be for the first 100 years of our republic. There's nothing stopping us from doing that now, even with the school choice initiative.
I agree, but I put it out there in social media and talked to pastors, and it's not getting any traction, brother.
Well, earlier in the week, we talked about a preschool that's being run by a church. And the authorities came in and shut it down because the kids were not wearing their masks. I'll revisit that story. It's in the San Diego area. Mr. McConnell, let's find that again. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday we were talking about that. It was a news clip 4 or 5 minutes long about a preschool run by a church, and the authorities came in because the kids were fidgeting with their mask and they weren't putting them on. And the guy said, have you ever tried to put a mask on a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old? I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
If you're Anthony Blinken, if you're Tony Blinken and you're like a frustrated pop musician who wound up somehow as Secretary of State, and you've never achieved anything in your life, The one thing that you can do, the one way you can exert power, how? Killing people. You're the Secretary of State. You can force a war. No, I'm saying this is how they think. Okay, so
it's like a big coping mechanism, or it's like
look, one of the basic desires, as you noted, is to exert power over your environment. Hey, world, I was here. My life meant something. So in order to signal that, you wave your arms, you exert power over something. Like, I can drink this Pellegrino. Like, I am a man. I am not an animal. I am a man. So the higher up you go, the greater the desire is, and that's why they're there in the first place, to exert power. So people go into journalism to exert power. The more overriding your desire is, and I would say most of the time it's because you're compensating for this deep emptiness within. You have a barren personal life. You're not actually deriving fulfillment at home. Your kids don't love you. Your wife has contempt for you. So you go to work and you're like, well, damn, what can I add?
Invade Iran.
I'm not joking. I'm not taking
it as a joke.
I've lived my whole life around these people. You look around and you're like, oh, wow, that person has a really sad personal life. Oh, so does that one. Oh, there's Mitch McConnell. That's the saddest of all. Or whatever, all these people. And then it approaches like 90% of our political leaders have these sad, barren personal lives. You're like, what are the odds of that? Maybe they're compensating for what they don't have by exerting power over other people. Oh, now I'm very much a sub-genius. So it took me decades to figure this out. But once I did, it explained pretty much everything.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
He is America. Captain America's trying, but not so much. It's Superman. That's why kids have loved him. Adults have loved. When I saw Superman, I was 8 years old, and I saw Christopher Reeve. You believed a man could fly. And I wanted to be an American, and now I am. But they've killed it. They killed James Bond in the new movie. Sorry, guys, spoilers. I've seen it. It's crap. Don't waste your time. They killed James Bond. Dead. Gone. Because I guess what? He was too sexy? Too toxic in his masculinity? Gone!
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
Southwest was devastated this week, straight up lying, talking about it was the weather. The reason why 2,000 flights were canceled over the weekend, Friday through Sunday, and then over 300 or nearly 400 more on Monday. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of these people just called out sick. They just called out sick. They've been threatened by their employer because their employer happens to be a federal contractor. And because of that, because the federal government has their hands in Southwest Airlines, they have to comply. Now, here's the news. Nothing has happened as of yet. So technically, Southwest Airlines does not have to comply right now. And they can wait for OSHA to make whatever edict they're going to lay out that has not been done thus far. But nonetheless, they suspect that it is coming down the pike. You get all these pilots, 10,000 pilots, 60 to 70% of these pilots are men and women that fought for our freedom, and we're going to kick them off the freaking job. Can you imagine the disruption? You talk about, we look at the ports in California. Can you imagine the supply chain disruption if now we can't even unload cargo ships and we're going to have fewer and fewer pilots? Fewer trained pilots? I don't want to fly. I don't know if they're going to be like United Airlines and bring social justice warrior pilots on. I don't even want to fly. Listen, if you're a pilot, I don't care if you're pink, red, white. I want the best doggone pilot when I'm sitting up in that can 30,000 feet above the ground.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Bank transactions. The Democrats want the IRS to snoop around and check out what you're doing if you have a bank account with more than $600 in it. They want to get involved in your PayPal transactions. You're sending money to your kids. The IRS wants to know all about that. They think they can drag more money out of us. Like the IRS and the Democrats' scheme is we got to figure a way to pay for all this crap. All this spending the Democrats want. Okay, here's the way we can do it. Let's go audit a bunch of people and let's go check out grandma sending $601 to their grandkid via PayPal. And when a reporter pointed out to Pelosi that Americans are livid about this, and is it going to stay in your reconciliation bill? Pelosi had a very predictable answer.
Yes, there are concerns that some people have, but if people are breaking the law and not paying their taxes, one way to track them is through the banking measure. I think 600, but that's a negotiation that will go on as to what the amount is. But yes.
Yes. You think a multi-millionaire like Nancy Pelosi cares about a hardworking person being tracked by the IRS? If you have a transaction over $600, yes, some people are calling the bank. You better call your bank. You got a relationship with a local banker? You better call him or her, and you better demand there be a pushback.
Triple 8-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. In a few minutes, we're going to be speaking with a proponent of one of the initiatives for school choice here in California. Speaking of which,
employees at a local church preschool say they've been plagued by harassment, intimidation, and threats from the state all over keeping masks on toddlers. If you've tried to do it, you know how difficult it is. And now, Foothill Christian Church Preschool has closed. Here to tell us more from Foothills Christian Church is Pastor Kevin Miller. Pastor, my goodness, good to talk to you, but this story really saddens my heart.
Yeah, the news these days is really crazy. It's good to talk to you, Ginger. We really respect the work you do. You and I went to San Diego State at different years, went through the same Daily Aztec and journalism program, I think. So thanks for all the great work you do.
Yes, I do. I was looking up your bio and noted that as well. All right, so let's go back to late September of 2020. What was happening at the preschool and how was the state involved?
So what we were doing back at September 29th, we were teaching young toddlers, all the stuff that they need to know to get ready for the world. And we were taking care of people's kids. And actually, we were teaching them how to love Jesus. And then all of a sudden, the state showed up. They said they had a complaint that our children weren't being masked. And understand it's a preschool. I have 20 grandchildren. Trying to keep a mask on a 3-year-old is a difficult thing. So we kind of shook our heads and said, okay, what do we do? And we let them know it was going to be a tough road ahead because, quite frankly, the people that come to our preschool aren't real fond of their children being masked. And so we said we're going to give it a shot to comply because we want to stay open. But there was a real big problem with that. It was a hard road. And basically what they told us is you must make the children wear masks, and you can't make the children wear masks because it's a violation of their civil rights. So our kids tell us, no, thank you, when we would ask them if they wanted to wear masks. So we asked for some time to work with the parents and see if we could get some cooperation. But from the very, very beginning, I was deeply concerned that one way or another, we would end up in the place we are, which is closing down the school, because the parents who didn't want their 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds wearing a mask all day would just pull their kids, and we wouldn't be able to stay open for the others that desperately needed childcare. And then, or we'd get shut down because we weren't able to be compliant with the state. And we've been open 6 years and served a lot of families. There was over 100 kids, 80 families, and now they're all looking for childcare.
I mean, just trying to make everybody happy these days seems like an insurmountable task. But again, we're talking about 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. I think I'd have a better chance of hurting cats than to keep a mask on a child that young, especially when you're being instructed by some of the parents that if they don't want to wear one, it's okay. I mean, they're developing speech at that point. They're trying to look and watch somebody's mouth as much as they're trying to form those same sounds with their own mouths. So I understand at one point you actually had some signs of improvement and you were getting some positive feedback. What happened at that point?
You know what? Some of it's a mystery to me, and I'm trying to figure it out like so many things in the world. But I've got to tell you, I've done deep into this, and I've gone over 322 preschool visits in East County, where we're at, and over the last 5 years, 88 in the last 2 years during COVID. And I don't get it. In the 88 visits that I've researched myself, and I've got the reports here, I got stacks of paper, I only see 2 incidents where masks were actually brought up, masks on children, only 2. And not that they weren't wearing them or not wearing them, anything like that, but just 2. We were one of them. The other preschool, they gave a B violation, a little slap on the wrist, hey, do better. They came back in a few weeks and saw the kids all on the playground and signed it off. We went through over 40 hours, 9.5 hours a day, on 7 visits, disrupting all the day. You can only imagine. They were interviewing 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds without their parents' permission or knowledge. The kids didn't want to come back to school because they were so intimidated. I had teachers left crying. So we worked through that. And finally, in late November, they signed us off and said, we can see you're working. We can see you're doing the very best you can. There's a whole lot of improvement. We're going to wipe out $2,600 and the thousands of dollars of fines. They were fining us $100 a day, even when we were closed. So they said we were all done. We did real well. And we thought, okay, well, we're going to press on forward. And then something happened. And I don't know exactly what happened, but they came back in unannounced, and they just shut us down.
Wow, that just breaks my heart. On February, I'm sorry. That's how rattled the story is. December 10th is the day that they actually shut you down for good. You brought up your teachers. I know you have a teacher there that's been working with children for 19 years. What's the status of Tiffany? Oh, gosh.
Sorry, it's a little close to my heart. Tiffany McHugh, the director of the preschool, has been working with kids for 19 years. And they said that she was a danger to the health and safety of children. So under state licensing in the state of California, that she would be unable to work with children for the remainder of her life.
Oh my gosh.
And 21 other teachers and aides are unemployed.
This is heartbreaking, and I'm touched on one level to see how deep it is to your heart, and then angry on the other level to see how it's hurting you and hurting this woman. She's no longer able to work with children. This infuriates me as a mom, as a parent, as a tax-paying citizen. Are you going to fight back? Are you going to take any action? Because I understand you guys have a press conference for tomorrow.
We are absolutely going to fight back. On January 14th, we have a settlement agreement hearing, and if that doesn't work, if people don't come to their senses on this, then January 26th through the 28th, we have a hearing. And so we're getting the word out. We want to get letters to the Department of Social Services. Brian Jones is doing a great job fighting for us up in Sacramento. So he's for us, but he can be contacted, and people can support us in this because, and the press conference is tomorrow from 8 until 9:30 here at Foothills Christian Church. And, a lot of people will be here, and all of our parents who have written and fought so hard and so supportive. There are going to be a lot of people here. Other churches as well, because I'll tell you what, other Christian preschools and preschools in general are saying, are we next?
Yeah, you make a very compelling argument that you were targeted for sure. Pastor Miller, this is not going to be our last conversation. I'm going to make sure that you also have my personal contact information because we want to stay alongside you. I know Brian Jones is involved. I also know that El Cajon Mayor Bill Wells wants to weigh in as well. So we here at KUSI are going to continue to follow this story and hopefully bring it to some sort of sense, if not a more compassionate resolution, and certainly anything we can do for your school and Tiffany as well. My goodness, I'm really sorry to hear that 2021 ended so horribly. Let's hope that 2022 has some better news for us. All right.
We've got faith and hope.
And the 900-pound elephant in the room is a teachers union. More and more people began to opt for school choice. More and more people began to opt out of the public school sector for religious schools, homeschooling, private schools. They lose their power. And that is why this Christian preschool has been attacked. The teachers union, #1 funder of the Democratic Party, #1 funder of Governor Gavin Newsom, my opponent back in September. Michael Alexander, president and founder of Californians for School Choice, is my guest coming up. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Do not leave town.
Hey, Larry, this is Brian calling out of Dallas, Texas. It occurred to me that Democrats are causing all this chaos and race issues and looting and destroying cities because they want the UN to take over. They want the UN to say, oh, my God, look how bad the United States is, so we can have one government running the whole world. Keep doing what you're doing, Larry.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Later on in the hour, a tribute to the late Colin Flaherty. Who's Colin Flaherty? Stick around for that. Now, as you know, you can watch the show on Larry Elder / on YouTube.com/Larry Elder Show Radio. To that end, be sure and tune in so you can check out my current guest. He is in studio. He is a proponent for the Educational Freedom Act, founder and president of the California School Choice Foundation, and chairman of Californians for School Choice. Native Californian, as I am. He's a veteran, U.S. Marine Corps, hoorah, graduated from USC. We'll kind of forgive him for that. And former host of Radio Free LA, heard right here on KRLA 870 The Answer. Currently hosts his own weekly podcast called The Voice of Choice. Please welcome to the program, Michael Alexander. Michael, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Larry. It's a real pleasure and privilege to be here, especially after so many years of listening to you on KRLA Radio and other stations.
I appreciate that. You were just complimenting me on my mom. She's been on every Friday, as you know. Real quickly, Michael, a quick story about my mom. You know Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah.
Tommy Lasorda is a great BS artist. We love Tommy, but he's a great BS artist.
Yeah.
So a few years ago, I'm on another station. My mom had died about 3 or 4 years before that. Tommy comes in, he sits down. Larry, I love your show. Never miss it. Never miss your show. Well, great, Tommy. I just love you. I just love on Fridays. I never miss Fridays on your mom. Your mom was on last Friday. She was a hoot. She was a... So I let him go on. I didn't say anything. Took a break, and I said to one of the guys that Tommy, I said, tell Tommy my mom died 4 years ago. So, anyway, Michael, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. As you know, I'm a strong proponent of school choice. I worry, however, that there's been a ballot initiative in the past for school choice, and it failed.
Yes.
Because I think so many people in California have already voted with their zip codes. They've opted out. I have a number of friends who live in Los Angeles proper, as I do. Many of them are doing quite well. Not a single one of them has his or her child in a public school here in L.A., other than a handful of them had them in an elementary school that was touted as a very good one. But beyond that, not a single one of my friends put his or her kid in a public school. And I want to say one more thing before I let you go. I'll let you talk. The first time Antonio Villaraigosa ran for mayor, he's in a debate, and someone says, Mr. Villaraigosa, your wife is a public school teacher. You're a proponent of public schools, yet your own kids are not in public schools. Why is that? And he said, and I quote, I would not sacrifice my child by putting my child in a public school.
Wow.
He got hammered for saying that. He never said it again.
Right.
But he was being honest.
He was.
So a big proponent for your kid, but not mine.
Right. Well, you probably know about this. Nebraska State Senator Wayne Justice, I forget what is it, black guy, Democrat, and they had have a school choice proposal, which is not like ours, but they have one pending in Nebraska, and the old guard was up there holding the line for the teachers' unions going to vote against it. And this guy got up and he said, hey, look, you guys, I'll vote with you. Kavanaugh, some old white guys up there. He says, I'll vote with you on this condition that all of you folks send your kids to the schools in my neighborhood and you take your chances with us, and then we'll take that 50 years that you think is going to approve. Well, I don't know what happened, but he held him to their own principles, and I want to get that man out there. He's a black Democrat. And this issue, Larry, is nonpartisan. It spans every community, regardless of color, party, affiliation. Everybody's for it. I've heard about all the opposition from Democrats, but believe me, the small d Democrats are the ones that are voting for it. And every week on my leadership meeting with my county leaders all over the state, I ask them who refused to sign it. It's rare, and this no BS in campaign talk. Nobody is refusing to sign it. Everybody's up there, regardless of who they are. Now you got some union people and some political operatives. It's rare. So I think going back to why it hasn't passed in the past, schools were different. The last time this was attempted was 20 years ago. Talk with Tim Draper, who backed it at that time. It was really too little money. He was offering $4,000 back then in the bill. Nothing to get excited about. Even then, well, this time our bill starts out at $14,000 per year per child, and you can take that money, it'll be held in trust, and you can send the kid to a school of your choice, an accredited private, parochial, or religious school, save anything left over for college. It's beautiful, and it applies to everybody in the state. Now, that is a bill worth getting excited about. That's a bill worth supporting. It's unique because this is the only pure school choice bill in the country that provides immediate access to every student of every color, clime, income, just like the regular public school system. It applies it to them, and it gives everybody the opportunity to pursue their dreams wherever they want. And that's what's unique about it. That's what's getting support, Larry.
My guest is Michael Alexander. As you heard, he's a proponent of school choice. He's pushing the Educational Freedom Act, founder, president of the California School Choice Foundation. Michael, there was a study done a few years ago about where public school teachers send their own school-age kids.
Yes.
The average family, America, 11% of us have our own kids in private school. 6% of black families do. 44% of Philadelphia public school teachers with school-age kids had their own kids in private school.
Yeah.
39% Chicago public school teachers with school-age kids own kids in private schools. 28% of the LAUSD teachers had their own school-age kids in private school. And I've often said it's the equivalent of opening up a restaurant, putting up a sign saying, "Come on in, eat the food. We sure as hell won't."
Right, exactly. And what we have here in what the California so-called school system, what we have is the equivalent of a single payer and a single provider medical system, something that we would not tolerate, and indeed the teachers don't tolerate. And what distinguishes them? It's easy. Their average pay and benefits are up over $100,000 a year. They are 1%ers. They don't see themselves as that, but they are 1%ers. And anybody with the money sends their kid to a school that they want to go to. And I think there's a dirty secret, and that is that 2 out of 3 school teachers are going to come to my office, protest, throw rocks, and then go into the ballot booth and write themselves a check so that they and their families have it. You cannot believe the number of teachers who have come up and have signed this petition and said, "Hey, look, nobody's going to know this, are they?" Well, only the registrar of voters.
888-971-SAGE is our number. Love to hear from parents. Love to hear from teachers. 888-971-7243. Michael, we come back. I want to find out what the nuts and bolts are. How do you get the signatures? How do you get this thing on the ballot?
Thank you.
All of that and more. 888-971-SAGE.
All right. Yeah.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Boy, the state of Florida just fined Leon County $3.5 million because they fired 14 employees.
Coercion is just totally wrong. I think it's destroying trust in public health to the extent that there was still trust left over after all the stuff that's been done. But I think it's really, really negative, and I think you're going to end up driving people away.
You know, Governor DeSantis makes a great observation about the way the mandate is driving people in the other direction. And that's why companies have got to stop the mandates. This just has to stop. This isn't working. You cannot fire people over a vaccine.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Mark Milley admitted yesterday that for that pathetic pseudo-journalist Bob Woodward, for his new blockbuster dishing book of scandal, Mark Milley gave him hours of interviews. Hours? Sorry. How busy should the chairman of the Joint Chiefs be? Just curious. As the Taliban is ready to take back Afghanistan, these are interviews he gave this stinking year. This year! As the Taliban is rising, as China is building its military, as Iran is threatening us, as Russia is being ever more militaristic, you're sitting down for hours with an avowed, rabid Democrat, quote-unquote, journalist to give inside scoops on how you stood up to President Trump by undermining the chain of command that you, by the Constitution, are not a part of? What the hell are you doing? Maybe those hours could have been spent, I don't know, reading the Long War Journal by our friend Bill Roggio, where he predicted in March that the Taliban would be in control and Kabul would fall. Maybe you would better spend your time reading books like Cynical Theories, reading the works of Chris Rufo about what critical race theory really is and why it's racism and bigotry. But oh no, you had to be a politician.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
He is America. Captain America's trying, but not so much. It's Superman. That's why kids have loved him. Adults have loved. When I saw Superman, I was 8 years old, and I saw Christopher Reeve. You believed a man could fly. And I wanted to be an American, and now I am. But they've killed it. They killed James Bond in the new movie. Sorry guys, spoilers. I've seen it. It's crap.
Hello, Sage from South Central. This is Pete from SoCal. Just got to give you a quick shout out. I was talking to some of my friends that are on the left. I do have a few of those. And we had a discussion about our kids that are in high school. And I asked, hey, how often does your kid watch something other than left-leaning, like not watching CNN or something like that? Do they ever watch Fox? Oh, no way. We would never do that. Fox is so biased and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay. So that sounds pretty cool, except where do you get your fair and balanced information? And I said, my kids, they do watch a couple hours of, a CNN, MSNBC once in a while, and a little bit of Fox, and kind of round it out with a few other stations. And I said, it's kind of nice to have them fair and balanced because my kids can truly see the hypocrisy in the news.
888-971 SAGE 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. My in-studio guest, Michael Alexander, president and founder of Californians for School Choice. Michael, let's go call real fast. Daniel is in Sacramento, California. Daniel, you're on with Michael, Alexander, and Larry.
Hey, Michael, how you doing? Hey, Larry Elder, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
I'm doing fine.
Yeah. Good. I just had a question. My kids go to a private school now, and so I was wondering, when is this bill going to be on the ballot? And then how do we follow it? And then how do you qualify for it?
First of all, CaliforniaSchoolChoice.org is where you go to sign up and be part of this and get all the information that you need. The other answer is we are now gathering signatures for this ballot. We have another 90 days to collect over 1 million valid signatures to place this on the ballot, and we need your help. You're the guy to do it for you and your family, and that will be on the November 22 ballot. November 8th, 2022 is when schools improve dramatically in the state of California, Daniel, for you and your children.
You have to get how many signatures and by when?
We have to get 1 million signatures and turn them all in by April 11th. That's a little over 90 days, 89 days.
And how's it
now.
Going?
It's going well. Yeah,
It's a difficult thing to do to get that many signatures, and as you know, you need to get more than that because some of them are invalid.
That's correct. Yeah. So our goal ultimately, ideally, 1.2 million to 1.5 million. We have a lot of direct mail campaigns that are kicking off now. Mm-hmm. The holidays are a slow time. People are waking up right now, and I'm going to be good right through up until Super Bowl weekend, and then we'll go dead for a couple of days. But we're having a lot of interest in it.
Now, Michael, I interviewed Rick Rennell, who has another school choice initiative. I haven't taken a position on either one of them officially, although I'm in favor of school choice, obviously.
Sure.
But why is yours better than his?
Well, it's pretty straightforward. Number one, they are only offering a beginning scholarship of $13,000, even though the governor's budget is coming up at $15,000 here pretty quick. We're already behind at $14,000. Number two, theirs has a phase-in and means testing. So for the first couple of years or so, it is only the functionally poor that will be eligible for the program. And although I respect Ambassador Grinnell, these policy choices are questionable. They also have, it takes up to 4 years to phase this in. And Larry, there's no financial reason for doing this. We have a tremendous state budget. There's just no indication at all that we don't have the money for this program. Moreover, they have a $60,000 cap on it for taking into college, and also they exclude homeschoolers. Ours include all homeschoolers. And then when you get into the internals of this bill, which we don't have the time to to discuss right now, we are much more specific in prohibiting curriculum mandates. We are sharper on the regulatory aspects of that, and we are one of the great fears of all parents is that if they take this money, the government will be able to transform their private school or homeschool into a government classroom. Under our bill, that's very clear that you can't. Unfortunately, Grinnell's drafting committee did not take proper notice of these things, and the bill is much weaker than it should be. I'll give them credit for school choice, but the internals are bad. This is why our bill is really the Cadillac of the business and the way to go.
I'm talking to Michael Alexander, president and founder of Californians for School Choice, the website he gave, CaliforniaSchoolChoice.org, CaliforniaSchoolChoice.org. We come back. I want to talk to you about a little bit of hypocrisy. People like Elizabeth Warren telling a voter that my children went to public schools, when in fact, $17,000 a year private school.
Oh.
Also another one named Barack Obama. We'll talk about that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Again, the website is CaliforniaSchoolChoice.org. Now, we've got a brand new sponsor right here. And this is good because inflation is at 40 years high. And here's the deal. Government likes it because the inflation rates are now higher than the interest on the T-bonds. So every day that passes, the government owns less on its mountain of debt. You need to protect your savings right now. Hedge against inflation with gold from Birch Gold because the government is sabotaging the value of the U.S. dollar. Birch Gold will help convert your eligible IRA or 401k into an IRA backed by real gold. That'll give you real peace of mind. Thousands of satisfied customers, A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. You can trust Birch Gold to protect your savings. Just text Larry 989898 to get a free info kit on holding gold in a tax-sheltered account. That's text Larry 989898, Larry 989898 to get your free info kit right now. Birch Gold.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. China has built the largest DNA database in the world, and it's only growing. This should concern all of us. That's because China could use this information in the future, perhaps, for example, to build bioweapons targeting specific ethnic groups. Given this background, common sense dictates that Americans shouldn't be storing their DNA or other personal information with Chinese-linked firms. Quite sensibly, after getting an FBI briefing about the firm's connections to China, the Los Angeles County Sheriff notified the county that his office wouldn't work with Fulgent. That's the genetics firm LA County hired for mandatory COVID testing and registration. Fulgent even admits in a public disclaimer it stores information outside the United States, where data privacy protections may not be as secure. I'll bet. What's alarming is how many others have chosen to work with Fulgent. The question is why.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
America, if anybody wants it. But the answer is, yeah, I wish I had thought about ordering 500 million pills 2 months ago before COVID hit here.
But we're nearly 2 years into this pandemic. You're a year into the presidency. Empty shelves and no test kits in some places, 3 days before Christmas when it's so important. Is that good enough?
No, nothing's been good enough. But look where we are. When last Christmas we were in a situation where we had significantly fewer people vaccinated. Emergency rooms were filled.
Well, Mr. President, yes, I would have to agree with you on that. For once, there's something you and I agree on. Nothing has been good enough.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Thank you so much for all that you do for us. Most importantly, telling us the truth, which is clearly what the devoted left do not do. They use terms that are positive to describe everything that's negative, including voters' rights. We have voters' rights. It is called, you need to be a citizen and you need to provide an ID. Their voting rights is to legalize voting fraud, which means everybody can vote, which, remember, that's what Obama said. He said, if you live in America, you should be able to vote. So their use, again, everything is positive term to describe negative actions.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Coming up, a tribute to my friend, the late Colin Flaherty. Who's Colin Flaherty? We'll stick around for that. Michael Alexander is in studio. You can look at him on youtube.com/Larry Elder Show Radio and the Salem News Channel. He's founder and president of Californians for School Choice Initiative here in California. To get more information about it, CaliforniaSchoolChoice.org is the website, CaliforniaSchoolChoice.org. Speaking of phonies, Michael, Barack Obama.
Yeah.
One of the first things he did when he came to Washington, D.C. as president is to shut down the Opportunity Scholarship Program. They gave, I think it was around $7,500 for families that were able to be lucky enough to get into it. There were far more families that wanted to get into it than could get into it. This is a man who was in Indonesia when he was 10 years old, being educated at a private school because his mom had married an oil company executive, and they ran a school for the oil company executives that was private. She felt it wasn't good enough. Sends him to Hawaii to live with his maternal grandparents. Goes to the finest prep school in Hawaii, Punahou. Comes to L.A. First 2 years goes to Oxy, a private college. Finishes up Columbia, Ivy private college. Goes to Harvard, private. His 2 daughters, Sasha and Malia, were educated at a private school that was set up for teachers at University of Chicago, where Obama was a law instructor. Then he goes to D.C., and Michelle Obama makes a big display out of looking at all the public schools that she may enroll the girls in. At the time, I said on the air, if she enrolls those girls in a public school in D.C., I'm going to come to school tomorrow in a dress. I didn't have to come to school tomorrow in a dress. And for herself, Michelle, while it's true she went to a public school, high school, she didn't go to her nearby public high school. Now we'd call that choice. She went to a school far out because her parents felt her school nearby was inferior. So essentially, all the Obamas educated either in private schools or took advantage of school choice. And one of the first things this man did when he became president is to shut down the Opportunity Scholarship Program for people that did not like the public school teachers, public schools in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Talk about hypocrisy.
That's right. Well, and what we find here, Larry, is that we not only see the hypocrisy on display with Barack Obama and other creatures of political habit, particularly owned and operated by the teachers' unions, but as a matter of fact, all of our elites, white, black, our institutions, our churches, our religious leaders, our civil leaders here in California have presided over a precipitous drop in the quality of our institutions. We're now 48th. Massive numbers of children can't even speak the language. We're creating this big overhang. Our institutions have failed us, and that's why we, the people, must exercise our rights under the initiative process to turn this around. And we're going to have massive opposition from all the people who have a vested interest in what is essentially, at the end of the day, a political apparatus and not an educational institution. It is just another way that the government manufactures citizens that it wants, rather than giving us access to our tax money so that we can educate our own children.
Michael, 80% of our kids educated here in California in what I call government schools. I don't like to call them public schools. I like to call them government schools. 80% of them are black and brown. Why do you care?
Oh, I'll tell you why I care. First of all, like yourself, I'm a man of faith. And all of the energy for this movement is coming out of communities of faith of all colors. But beyond that, let's just take a practical utilitarian perspective. If we have, particularly in a creeping socialist system, if not outright socialist system, we are developing a very large group of people at the bottom of our economic ladder, characterized by ignorance, crime, lack of opportunity, unemployment, lack of mobility in our system. Larry, their future is our future. Even if I didn't like them, even if I didn't think that I had a moral obligation to speak out for them, even then, I would make sure they had an education, because if they don't have a shot, I'm going to pay for it, and nobody can tell you about the black story and what a local bishop, Juan Carlos Mendez, described the public school system as a pathway to prison. This is intolerable. This is a sin that cries out to heaven for revenge, and everybody on here listening to this message here today needs to get with us and support this movement for their own sake as well as other children.
It's in everybody's best interest. Don't we want to produce people that are law-abiding, tax-paying citizens? Don't we want to produce a whole bunch of people who do that? Isn't that in everybody's best interest?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's poverty. The only people that get paid by poverty and ignorance are the poverty and ignorance pimps, and we know who they are. And these people have presided over this system, and they've just been willing to accept it. More and more money going into inflation-adjusted dollars. We're spending twice as much and getting half as much for it. We got to change.
The website is californiaschoolchoice.org, californiaschoolchoice.org. We don't have another minute in this segment right now, Michael.
Yes.
think tanks on the left and on the right don't agree about a whole lot. You've got the Brookings Institution on the left. You have conservative think tanks like the American Enterprise Institution, but they both said the same thing about escaping poverty. Number one step, finish high school.
Right.
Presumably one where you can read, write, and compute at grade level.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, we need that. How does anybody participate in our economy or fully participate in our government and take the rightful place in society without these basic tools? These are ones that our parents sacrificed to make sure you and I had them. And all children can have them and save money for college. Money is not the problem.
Maybe we can get Colin Kaepernick to take a knee for school choice.
Let's do it.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Now, I suggest you order the 3-week quick start. It's discounted to only $19.95. That is less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, we're talking about, well, less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day for you to stay out of pain. That is why over 70% of those who order the 3-week quick start go on to order more. You see, the docs who designed Relief Factor believe our bodies are designed to heal. To that end, they selected the 4 100% drug-free ingredients to deal with pain from a different metabolic pathway. That's right. Approaching from 4 different angles is why so many people get such wonderful relief from their back, shoulder, neck, hip, foot, knee pain, whether from exercise or just getting older. 3-week quick start, less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day for you to stay out of pain. Just go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or you can call 800-500-8384. That's 800-500-8384.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
He is America. Captain America's trying, but nah, not so much. It's Superman. That's why kids have loved him. Adults have loved. When I saw Superman, I was 8 years old, and I saw Christopher Reeve. You believed a man could fly. And I wanted to be an American, and now I am. But they've killed it. They killed James Bond in the new movie. Sorry guys, spoilers. I've seen it. It's crap. Don't waste your time. They killed James Bond. Dead. Gone. Because I guess what? He was too sexy? Too toxic in his masculinity? Gone!
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
Southwest was devastated this week, straight up lying, talking about it was the weather. The reason why 2,000 flights were canceled over the weekend, Friday through Sunday, and then over 300 or nearly 400 more on Monday. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of these people just called out sick. They just called out sick. They've been threatened by their employer because their employer happens to be a federal contractor, and because of that, because the federal government has their hands in Southwest Airlines, they have to comply. Now, here's the news. Nothing has happened as of yet, so technically, Southwest Airlines does not have to comply.
Hi, Larry. I love the job you do, sir. Listen, I just saw an interview with Aaron Rodgers. He had COVID. They gave him ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, zinc, vitamin C, all that other stuff, and he got well within 3 days. Totally brand new person. He also said that the NFL is treating other players with COVID with the same concoction, but they are keeping it hush-hush. They don't want to tell anybody
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Coming up, I want to give you a little tribute to a friend of mine named Colin Flaherty, who just died at the age of 69, not from COVID, from cancer. And I'll explain who he is, so stick around for that. Michael Alexander is my guest, our last few minutes with him. He's president and founder of Californians for School Choice. The website is californiaschoolchoice.org. There was a couple of documentaries that came out, Michael. One was called Waiting for Superman. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yes.
About these parents. I think it was Washington, D.C., if I'm not mistaken. It might have been
one
New York.
of the places, and they also had Roosevelt High out here.
Right, and it was about the scholarship program that these parents were trying to get their kids in. Only about a quarter of those who applied actually were able to get them in.
Right.
And they felt it was a difference between having a life towards the middle class and a life of poverty. And I remember when Barack Obama was running for president, he's sitting and talking to Bill O'Reilly, who used to be a public school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And O'Reilly asked him about school choice. And Obama said, well, the studies show that it doesn't really make all that much difference. The man that Bill Clinton hired, his name was Patrick Wolf. He's still with University of Arkansas, education professor. He hired him, Bill Clinton did, to look at the Arkansas school choice program. He evaluated that one in Milwaukee, and he said there's no question graduation rates improved, the parental satisfaction through the roof, test scores improved. And here Obama is telling this man who's a public school teacher that school choice does not work.
Right. Yeah, it's complete hypocrisy. Let me run through a couple numbers. These ought to be easy. Average school class size is 25 in California. Minimum annual spend is $20,000 per student. Right. Check the governor's budget. Even if you went to one of their schools, you have trouble with numbers, that's $500,000 per year. That teacher with salary and benefits, maybe $1.25, $125,000 out of that. Where does the other $350,000 to $375,000 go? And it's down the bureaucratic rat hole. There's plenty of money there. It makes a difference, and if it didn't make a difference, you wouldn't have 30 or 40% of school teachers sending their kids to private school.
CaliforniaSchoolChoice.org, CaliforniaSchoolChoice.org. Michael, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it.
Hey, and thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. See you next time.
God bless.
All right, God bless, sir. All right. All right, did you want to do some video, did you say, Larry? Or excuse me,
no,
Michael, we good?
That, but what I am going to do is Monday I'm going
to Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
America, if anybody wants it. But the answer is, yeah, I wish I had thought about ordering 500 million pills 2 months ago before COVID hit here.
But we're nearly 2 years into this pandemic. You're a year into the presidency. Empty shelves and no test kits in some places 3 days before Christmas when it's so important. Is that good enough?
No, nothing's been good enough. But look where we are. When last Christmas we were in a situation where we had significantly fewer people vaccinated. Emergency rooms were filled.
Well, Mr. President, yes, I would have to agree with you on that. For once, there's something you and I agree on. Nothing has been good enough.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
If you're Anthony Blinken, if you're Tony Blinken and you're like a frustrated pop musician who wound up somehow as Secretary of State, and you've never achieved anything in your life, the one thing that you can do, the one way you can exert power, how? Killing people. You're the Secretary of State. You can force a war. No, I'm saying this is how they think. Okay, so
it's like a big coping mechanism, or it's like
look, one of the basic desires, as you noted, is to exert power over your environment. Hey, world, I was here. My life meant something. So in order to signal that, you wave your arms, you exert power over something. Like, I can drink this Pellegrino. Like, I am a man. I am not an animal. I am a man. So the higher up you go, the greater the desire is, and that's why they're there in the first place, to exert power. So people go into journalism to exert power. The more overriding your desire is, and I would say most of the time it's because you're compensating for this deep emptiness within. You have a barren personal life. You're not actually deriving fulfillment at home. Your kids don't love you. Your wife has contempt for you. So you go to work and you're like, well, damn, like, what can I add?
Invade Iran.
I'm not joking. I'm not taking it as a joke. I've lived my whole life around these people. You look around, you're like, oh, wow, that person has a really sad personal life. Oh, so does that one. Oh, there's Mitch McConnell. That's the saddest of all. Or whatever, all these people. And then it approaches like 90% of our political leaders have these sad, barren personal lives. You're like, what are the odds of that? Maybe they're compensating for what they don't have by exerting power over other people. Oh, now I'm very much a sub-genius. So it took me decades to figure this out. But once I did, it explained pretty much everything.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
He is America. Captain America's trying, but not so much. It's Superman. That's why kids have loved him. Adults have loved. When I saw Superman, I was 8 years old, and I saw Christopher Reeve. You believed a man could fly. And I wanted to be an American, and now I am. But they've killed it. They killed James Bond in the new movie. Sorry, guys, spoilers. I've seen it. It's crap. Don't waste your time. They killed James Bond. Dead. Gone. Because I guess what? He was too sexy? Too toxic in his masculinity? Gone!
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Southwest was devastated this week, straight up lying, talking about it was the weather. The reason why 2,000 flights were canceled over the weekend, Friday through Sunday, and then over 300 or nearly 400 more on Monday. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of these people just called out sick. They just called out sick. They've been threatened by their employer because their employer happens to be a federal contractor. And because of that, because the federal government has their hands in Southwest Airlines, they have to comply. Now, here's the news. Nothing has happened as of yet. So technically, Southwest Airlines does not have to comply right now. They can wait for OSHA to make whatever edict they're going to lay out that has not been done thus far. But nonetheless, they suspect that it is coming down the pike. You get all these pilots, 10,000 pilots, 60 to 70% of these pilots are men and women that fought for our freedom, and we're going to kick them off the freaking job. Can you imagine the disruption? You talk about, we look at the ports in California. Can you imagine the supply chain disruption if now we can't even unload cargo ships and we're going to have fewer and fewer pilots? Fewer trained pilots? I don't want to fly. I don't know if they're going to be like United Airlines and bring social justice warrior pilots on. I don't even want to fly. Listen, if you're a pilot, I don't care if you're pink, red, white. I want the best doggone pilot when I'm sitting up in that can 30,000 feet above the ground.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Bank transactions. The Democrats want the IRS to snoop around and check out what you're doing if you have a bank account with more than $600 in it. They want to get involved in your PayPal transactions. You're sending money to your kids. The IRS wants to know all about that. They think they can drag more money out of us. Like the IRS. And the Democrats' scheme is we got to figure a way to pay for all this crap. All this spending the Democrats want. Okay, here's where we can do it. Let's go audit a bunch of people and let's go check out grandma sending $601 to their grandkid via PayPal. And when a reporter pointed out to Pelosi that Americans are livid about this, and is it going to stay in your reconciliation bill?
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Friend of mine named Colin Flaherty just died, age 69. Who is Colin Flaherty? Stick around for that. We'll talk about that later on this hour. Zip poll question I left you with yesterday. Inflation has now reached a 40-year high, 7% year to year. Do you think inflation will be higher or lower next year? 91% of you think it was going to be higher. Not good. Here's the one for tonight. We'll go over the results tomorrow on Phone a Bro, Can You Beat Kirk Friday. Many Dems oppose voter ID. Do you think they oppose it because A, they sincerely believe voter ID suppresses the vote, particularly among minority voters, or B, they want as many people as possible to vote, assuming not requiring voter ID will generate more Democrat votes? A, Democrat politicians sincerely believe voter ID suppresses the vote. B, Democrat politicians hope not requiring voter ID means more Democrat votes. A or B. In order to participate in this poll, you must be a member of the Zip community. Go to your app store, download the Zip poll by searching under Zip Poll USA. And in order to participate, you must use my code SAGE, S-A-G-E. We'll go over the results tomorrow. Now, my column this week, we're posting it today, first day. It's called Big Tech Thugs and Their Allies. And it's about how John Androsik, the member of the group 5 for Fighting, he posted a video and new song about the disastrous pullout from Afghanistan. Put it on YouTube. YouTube first attached a warning that said graphic content policy, making it unsuitable for younger audiences. And John said, I'm okay with that. But then 5 days later and 250,000 views later, they took it down altogether. Never mind that there are all sorts of very, very graphic images of Taliban atrocities that not only remain on YouTube, but are also monetized, meaning whoever put it up makes money off of it. But YouTube removed John Androsik's song and video. But then 9 hours later, when a bunch of conservatives, including yours truly, began to complain on social media, YouTube restored it, although they put another warning label, inappropriate or offensive to some audiences. And here's how YouTube explained why they took it down and why they put it back up. Quote, "This was our mistake, and we've reinstated your video. So sorry this happened, and thanks for being patient while we worked this out." End of quote. What was there to work out? You got a bunch of other videos on YouTube displaying similar Taliban atrocities. As I mentioned, not only are up there, but they're also monetized, meaning whoever put it up there makes money. But John Androsis had to be worked out. And you know, when I ended my campaign for governor, I was just a smidge under 1 million followers on YouTube. Since then, I've lost almost 25,000, while still adding hundreds, by the way, every single day on Facebook and on Instagram. But on Twitter, I'm losing hundreds every single day. Pourquoi? Is it my aftershave? Now, keep in mind, Twitter is the same platform that completely deplatformed the New York Post that broke the story about Hunter Biden and his laptop showing that Father Joe clearly lied when he said he had no idea what Hunter was doing. Twitter shut down not only that story, but also took down the platform of the New York Post. Even the then CEO and founder of YouTube, Jack Dorsey, apologized and said we shouldn't have done it. Well, the damage was done. I showed you there was a study that showed enough Biden voters say had they known about that story, they would not have voted for Joe Biden, clearly making Donald Trump the president again. Now, there's a new CEO. He just took over a few months ago. And in an interview back in 2020, he said this, and I'm quoting him. His name is Agrawal. I'm sure I'm butchering his name. P-A-R-A-G, first name, A-G-R-A-W-A-L, last name. Here's what he said in an interview in 2020, quote, "Our role is not to be bound by the First Amendment, but our role is to serve a healthy public conversation, and our moods are reflective of things that we believe lead to a healthier public conversation." He added this, "The kinds of things that we do about this is focus less on thinking about free speech, but thinking about how times have changed." End of quote. Reflective of things we believe lead to a healthier public conversation. What the hell does that mean? As defined by whom? So Donald Trump platforms, including Twitter, shut down because he's promoting the quote-unquote big lie. And as I've told you a million times, 2/3 of Democrats falsely believe the Russians changed vote tallies in 2016. Senate investigation found not a single vote tally was changed, but 2/3 of Democrats believe they were. Senate Intel report found that we can't tell one way or the other whether or not the Russian interference altered the outcome of the election. We know they interfered. We just don't know what kind of effect it had one way or the other. 78% of Democrats believe the Russian interference, quote, changed the outcome of the election, close quote, even though the Senate report reached no such conclusion. Why is this important? Because for 4 years, Hillary referred to President Trump as having stolen, her word, not mine, the election, and referred to him as illegitimate, her word, not mine. Yet check out Hillary's social media platforms. Still there on Facebook, still there on Twitter, still there on Instagram, even though she's pushing the quote-unquote big lie about 2016. And please don't give me this BS about her followers were not violent. 3-4 days of protests, including violent protests when Donald Trump got elected in November 2016. 217 people arrested for protests, including violent protests when Trump was inaugurated third week of January 2017. Are you telling me, had Hillary been president on January 6th, and thank my stars she was not, and she lost by the narrow margin that President Trump lost by, and I'm putting lost in quotes, you're telling me her followers would have said, we fought the good fight. We tried. We just got beaten fair and square by a better guy. Are you kidding me? So that's my column is all about. It's up on LarryElder.com. It's called Big Tech Thugs and Their Allies. When we come back, I watch a lot of CNN and MSNBC, so you don't have to. So I'm listening to one of their hosts. His name is John King. And he and the others on his panel are going off on Republican for comparing the vaccine mandates to what they did in Nazi Germany. And how horrific this is to make such a comparison. To use that kind of analogy, it's just CNN said, John King, it's just horrible. We just can't. It debases the public discourse. It's not bad for our republic to have people say these kinds of things, to liken the vaccine mandate to what they've done during Nazi Germany, to compare it to the Holocaust. Have you forgotten what you did to President Trump for the entirety of his presidency? The things you called him? The things you likened his policies to? Well, you may have forgotten, but we haven't. So when we come back, you're going to hear CNN's John King and the hand-wringing over the use of comparing the vaccine mandates to what they did to Nazi Germany. And I want to remind you of a few of the less than kind things they said about President Donald Trump during the entirety of his presidency. Shall we? And then later on, the late Colin Flaherty and the truth behind anti-Asian hate crimes. We interviewed him on my show last year. All of that and more. I'm Larry Elder. Do not leave town.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
America, if anybody wants it. But the answer is, yeah, I wish I had thought about ordering 500 million pills 2 months ago before COVID hit here.
But we're nearly 2 years into this pandemic. You're a year into the presidency. empty shelves and no test kits in some places, 3 days before Christmas when it's so important. Is that good enough?
No, nothing's been good enough. But look where we are. When last Christmas we were in a situation where we had significantly fewer people vaccinated. Emergency rooms were filled.
Well, Mr. President, yes, I would have to agree with you on that. For once, there's something you and I agree on. Nothing has been good enough.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
If you're Anthony Blinken, if you're Tony Blinken and you're like a frustrated pop musician who wound up somehow as Secretary of State, and you've never achieved anything in your life, the one thing that you can do, the one way you can exert power, how? Killing people. You're the Secretary of State. You can force a war. No, I'm saying this is how they think. Okay, so
it's like a big coping mechanism, or it's like
look, one of the basic desires, as you noted, is to exert power over your environment. Hey, world, I was here. My life meant something. So in order to signal that, you wave your arms, you exert power over something. Like, I can drink this Pellegrino. Like, I am a man. I am not an animal. I am a man. So the higher up you go, the greater the desire is, and that's why they're there in the first place, to exert power. So people go into journalism to exert power. The more overriding your desire is, and I would say most of the time it's because you're compensating for this deep emptiness within. You have a barren personal life. You're not actually deriving fulfillment at home. Your kids don't love you. Your wife has contempt for you. So you go to work and you're like, well, damn, what can I add?
Invade Iran.
I'm not joking. I'm not taking
it as a joke.
I've lived my whole life around these people. You look around and you're like, oh, wow, that person has a really sad personal life. Oh, so does that one. Oh, there's Mitch McConnell. That's the saddest of all. Or whatever, all these people. And then it approaches like 90% of our political leaders have these sad, barren personal lives. You're like, what are the odds of that? Maybe they're compensating for what they don't have by exerting power over other people. Oh, now I'm very much a sub-genius. So it took me decades to figure this out. But once I did, it explained pretty much everything.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
He is America. Captain America's trying, but not so much. It's Superman. That's why kids have loved him. Adults have loved. When I saw Superman, I was 8 years old, and I saw Christopher Reeve. You believed a man could fly. And I wanted to be an American. And now I am. But they've killed it. They killed James Bond in the new movie. Sorry, guys, spoilers. I've seen it. It's crap. Don't waste your time. They killed James Bond. Dead. Gone. Because I guess what? He was too sexy? Too toxic in his masculinity?
Hi, Larry. This is Jeff from Michigan. I just learned today that the Biden administration has figured out some way to force companies that have, that do long-haul trucking, that come across the Canadian and Mexican border, to make their employees be fully vaccinated. The trucking industry expects they're going to lose thousands and thousands of drivers. We get up in Michigan, we get a ton of used cars from Canada. We get a lot of lumber. We get a lot of food. Mexico produces a lot of auto parts, a lot of food. I mean, we're already having shortages. This is going to be, it could be pretty bad. And so what I suggest, all of your listeners do, even if they've never done it before, pick up the phone and call your senator and your congressman and even the Biden administration and tell them that you're going to vote for somebody that looks out.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Here's John King, CNN.
Decency 101, Common Sense 101, Communications 101. Have a fight about vaccine mandates if you want, but leave the Nazis and the Holocaust out of it, period.
Doesn't know better and is reflective of a larger change in the party. He has John Boehner's seat, which tells you everything you need to know about one district and how that reflects one change in the party, going from John Boehner to somebody comparing COVID restrictions to Nazis. I think it's a pretty illustrative moment.
The Auschwitz Memorial, Catherine Lucy responded yesterday, exploiting the tragedy of all people who between 1933 and 45 suffered, were humiliated, tortured, and murdered by the totalitarian regime of Nazi Germany in a debate about vaccines and COVID limitations is a sad symptom of moral and intellectual decay.
Okay. Oh, horrible. Invoking fascism and Nazis when you're talking about vaccine mandates. This is a guy named John Heilman on the Morning Joe show during the Trump administration.
You know AOC? Not a good student, not good at anything, but she's got a good line of crap, I'll tell you. He's got a hell of a line. And she's got him, she's radical left, but she's not as bad as some of them. How about Omar of Minnesota? We're going to win the state of Minnesota because of her, they say. She's telling us how to run our country. How did you do where you came from? How is your country doing? She's going to tell us, she's telling us how to run our country.
She's telling us how to run our country as if it's not her country because, like Donald Trump's mother and like Donald Trump's grandparents, she was an immigrant to the United States of America. So, John Heilman, before we get to the top of the news, tell me if it's hyperbole or if this is not, again, what fascist leaders have done throughout the decades.
Not hyperbole. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Mika. Good morning, Willie, and everybody else. Not hyperbole, and I think all of us. The sad part about this is not that it's not only is it not hyperbolic, but this is not like the first time. The whole reason why I think we all of us who were reluctant to use this kind of language, even after seeing Donald Trump do a lot of very disturbing things in the 2016 campaign, I speak for myself, and I think for a lot of other people, you didn't want to go to leap to notions of fascism, to the kinds of language that now not only seems not hyperbolic, but seems inevitable, like unavoidable. You can't, it's all like all the same, there are all these other labels, right? Xenophobic, racist, demagogic, all of those things, are things that we are reluctant to apply to any politician, but Trump has been so consistently all of those things: racist, sexist, xenophobic, autocratic, and fascistic for so long now that even everyone who's kind of resisted that language, now it's not even that you apply it reluctantly, you apply it because there are no other words.
Wow. Malcolm Nance.
We are in a neo-fascist era in American politics. Back in 1939, 1940, there was a formal fascist movement which openly supported Adolf Hitler and called for American, independence and, isolation away from Europe's war, which Hitler had just invaded.
For 4 years, they called this man a fascist. For 4 years, they likened him to Hitler. For 4 years, they told him how much he admired Nazi Germany. But now today, somebody suggests that a vaccine mandate is akin to the fascistic things they did during Nazi Germany. Oh my God! How could you? Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten? It's stunning. It's jaw-dropping. That's why I've said before, watching CNN and MSNBC, which I do so you don't have to, it's almost comical. They ought to run a laugh track. To say this with a straight face after the things you've said about Donald Trump. Racist. Man presided over the best economy ever for blacks. Racist. Pardoned Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion, who, by the way, was imprisoned for violating the Mann Act. His crime? He took white girlfriends across state lines for, quote, illicit purposes, close quote. They prosecuted his butt, convicted him. Barack Obama was approached to pardon Jack Johnson, didn't do it. George W. Bush was approached to pardon Jack Johnson, didn't do it. Trump did. Racist. Doing something about illegal immigration makes him racist. When, again, according to George Borjas, the Harvard economist, who's probably done more work on the impact of legal and illegal immigration than almost anybody else, says illegals, particularly since most of them are unskilled, pose a threat for jobs to black and brown workers living in the inner city who have high school or less, and the presence of illegal labor, the option that employers have to hire illegals, puts downward pressure on the wages of Americans living in the inner city, to the tune, according to a Civil Rights Commission report, to the tune of $1,800 a year. That's the extent of the downward pressure they put on wages. And Donald Trump does something about that and makes him a racist. He expanded opportunity zones, lowering taxes and regulations in urban areas to spark economic activity, put funding for the historically black college universities on a 10-year basis for the first time, did real prison reform, allowing prisoners with long sentences to have their sentences reevaluated to the point where at the end of his term, about 5,000 to 6,000 mostly black men had their sentences reduced an average 70 months off their term. I'll say again, if he's a racist, he needs to go back to racism school. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. The late Colin Flaherty. Who's Colin Flaherty? Don't leave town.
You're 57 Muslim states in the world, one Jewish state.
Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
There's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
How 1 million children were placed with local foster families. Parents from all walks of life share their stories of overcoming the one-child policy by taking in orphans.
Go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
In light of the belief of the CDC that 99%, 99% of the, help me out here, of the vaxxed, 99% of those hospitalized are not vaxxed, right? That's the claim. Deaths is the claim. Or deaths? Okay. I think it's both hospitalized and deaths. Anyway, so if that's true, why do people give a hoot if people are not vaxxed? They're clearly not affecting the vaxxed, right? Given the spectacular success rate of the vaccination, why do you care if the next guy is vaxxed or not? And don't tell me, because they're taking up hospital space. So are motorcyclists who don't have helmets. So were folks who had men who had unprotected sex during the AIDS epidemic. So were cigarette smokers for a while. This is a new thing. You're taking up hospital space. So there is no threat to you who are vaccinated by the unvaccinated. You can't have it both ways. It's 99% effective, but you must get vaxxed. It's all about control. I told you that. That's how I began the hour. No, I actually began the hour about the Seattle city attorney race. But I want you to understand what this is about. You have the audacity to defy the left? F you. That is all it is about. That is what it is about for Joe Biden. The weakest, wimpiest guy to ever hold the office of president. He is the antithesis of a leader. We have a sheep as president.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Tesla was a genius. His most amazing discoveries thought to be written in a lost journal. Now, in the right hands, it could revolutionize the 21st century.
You can stop an earthquake. Doesn't that mean you could start one too?
That's why that notebook should never fall into the wrong hands.
Shall we stop this thing?
Save the universe!
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
I think this family can pick you up every time you fall.
Every time I take one step forward.
When Wright came in this morning, he wants to fight you.
No one expected this out of him.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
So anyway, you start with that notion of 15,000 people.
That's not being spoken about, and that's the new officers that are being hired on today. Most of what you would get from better officers or better cadets going into the academy, they're just not coming in. So we're scratching the bottom of the barrel right now. You're going to see this police-involved shooting and epidemic within certain communities just escalating so much more than it ever has because of the quality of candidates that police departments are getting nowadays. Thank you, and hope we have a little bit more discussion about that type of fact.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Wow. I told you Joe Biden's speech yesterday. One of the most divisive, offensive speeches I've ever heard. Even Dick Durbin, Democrat from Illinois, says, well, maybe he went a little too far with his rhetoric.
It is stark, and I will concede that point. But don't overlook the reality that in 20 different states, governed and led by Republicans in legislature and the governorship, in each and every one of them, they are taking step by weary step to make sure that fewer Americans are going to vote. Who in the world sets out as a political agenda reducing the vote in America? Exactly the opposite should be our goal by both political parties.
Again, you watch CNN, MSNBC, hee-haw, our republic is just about ready to go up in flames. It's called voter integrity, not suppression. Integrity. Making sure that you are who you say you are.
And yes, that was the goal of the segregationists, was to reduce the opportunity for African Americans to vote. Well documented over spans of decade after decade after decade.
So your people across the aisle, they're segregationists. They don't want black people to vote, right?
So yes, there are parallels there. Perhaps the president went a little too far in his rhetoric.
Perhaps the president went a little too far in his rhetoric, and you just now backed him up, even though you now claim he went too far in his rhetoric. Here's what Schumer said. Listen to this.
They're telling people that in Georgia, where there are much longer lines in African-American precincts than in white precincts, that it's a crime to serve water or a sandwich, greatly restricting or eliminating early voting.
Now, many states restrict the ability for you to give people things while they're standing in line. The fear is they'll be bribed. You can bring your own water. Regarding restricting the early voting days, here's what CNN said. There was extensive media coverage of initial Republican proposals, talking about Georgia, to eliminate or sharply reduce early voting on Sundays, when some black churchgoers participate in Souls to the Polls voter drives. However, these proposals did not make it into the final bill Kemp signed, which actually ends up expanding early voting in many counties for primaries and general elections. Here's what Mitch McConnell said about what Biden said yesterday.
Look, I've known, liked, and personally respected Joe Biden for many years. I did not recognize the man at the podium yesterday. American voters did not give President Biden a mandate for very much. He got a tied Senate, negative coattails in the House, the narrowest majorities in over a century. The president did not get a mandate to transform America or reshape society. But he did arguably get a mandate to do just one central thing that he campaigned on. Here's what that was. Bridge a divided country, lower the temperature, dial down the perpetual air of crisis in our politics. That is the one central promise that Joe Biden made. It is the one job citizens actually hired him to do. It is the one project that would have actually been consistent with the Congress the voters elected. But President Biden has chosen to fail his own test. The president's rant yesterday was incoherent, incorrect, and beneath his office.
This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle. I mean, this is gigantic, what they're trying to do, and it cannot be sustained.
Washington Post gave him 4 Pinocchios for his claim that, quote, this was Jim Crow in the 21st century for limiting voting hours. MIT elections expert Charles Stewart III found it, quote, it indicated an expansion of hours, especially in rural areas, end of quote. 3-week quick start, $19.95, less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, well, we're talking about less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day for you to stay out of pain. Over 70% of those who order the 3-week quick start go on to order more. If you've got pain, I'm talking about back, shoulder, neck, hip, foot, knee pain. Whether from exercise or just getting older, consider ordering the 3-week quick start. Just go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or call 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.